Yeah. Come. Yeah. Yeah, come on.
Welcome everybody, this is Ayam. Today I will be talking with maybe one of the more controversial MGTOW brothers out there, but he's very outspoken, he knows what he wants to say, and of lately he seems to be a bit of a harvester of trolls. A lot of people trying to bring him down, but he keeps his head up, he's not afraid to speak his mind, and of course I'm talking about the one and only Sexy MGTOW. Sexy MGTOW, how are you doing?
I'm doing very sexy-like.
Excellent, man, excellent. Well, I think probably the best thing to do here in these little interviews is to get you to maybe tell a little bit about yourself, as much as you feel comfortable with, and at the same time explain a little bit to the listeners how you came to MGTOW.
So, when I was younger, I was of course stupid, and I was a lot more left-leaning, whereas nowadays I'm so far right that I've hit the abyss, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
But when I was younger, I wasn't a feminist. I was never a part of that group. I was in the group of thinking that women were equal, and that kind of stopped around college when I tried doing a little bit of the pickup artist stuff. I was never really a fan of it,
Okay.
but I definitely started kind of going down that route. But after not succeeding with that route, getting the same results as I would beforehand, I pretty much found MGTOW. I don't really know how I found it. I just kind of found it. Just kind of stumbled upon it. I don't know how or when precisely. But since then, I've gotten way more right-leaning to the point that, politically wise, I'm an anarchist. In terms of, equal rights and things like that, I don't believe that for women. I don't believe that for other people as well. Okay. Depends on who you're talking about specifically, but I don't think women deserve rights at all, actually.
Okay. And do you remember maybe any of the earlier material that you used to listen to when you first kind of found MGTOW on the internet?
I'm pretty sure I started with Bar and Stardust.
Okay.
That was about it.
And for how long have you been producing content?
I probably would estimate a year at least. Okay,
about a year. All right, so I think what I like to do is, before we get into some of your material, because I went through it, a lot of good stuff, and unfortunately a lot of your old stuff is gone, and we'll get into that later.
Actually, I found an archive that has everything.
Excellent. Well, okay. Have you put any of it?
So I just haven't uploaded everything because I don't want to spam people's subscription boxes.
Right. Okay.
So I try to do one every day to every other day.
Okay.
And I also kind of want to mix it up between, the old stuff and new content that I'm making. But no, I did I was on the MGTOW forums on 8chan.
Okay.
And someone linked me to a apparently automated archive, and it has all my videos.
Oh, nice. Good. That's good to know that exists.
Yes. So nothing was lost.
Yeah. For any of you content providers listening out there, it's good to know it exists, just in case you suffer the same fate at some point in the future.
Yeah, I would just ask on the MGTOW forum on 8chan, and apparently someone linked me to it, and it exists and it has everything. So,
okay, right. That's good to know. All right. Well, I guess before we kind of get into some of your material, maybe you can explain to us a little bit about how you approach new material to produce. Where do you get your ideas from? Do you like to script your work? Is it more of off-the-cuff kind of stuff?
Generally nowadays, I do more scripting. I leave room open for, off-the-cuff stuff if I need to make it, maybe a joke, maybe an addendum to something that I had written. Otherwise, how I get the material, I usually come up with a topic at hand. A topic recently I've been trying to come up with is the history of women's rights, because it's not new. It's not new at all. From what I understand now, like, Rome had them. MGTOWs mostly know about Rome, but even Babylon had child support.
Okay, interesting.
So there seems to be more civilizations in the previous thousands of years that had rights for women with regards to alimony, child support, so on and so forth. So I'm still doing research on that, but usually I watch MGTOW content, and usually something they say triggers an idea, and I just sort of go down that route and try to come up with something new.
Right. Actually, I think a good comprehensive look at the history of feminism and ideas of feminism would be valuable to add to the archives of this.
Yes, the point that I would make, the point that my hypothesis, so to speak, for the idea is that these nations began falling when they started initiating these kinds of rights. I mean, we're well aware of how Rome fell with regards to initiating rights for women. I would like to see more about Babylon. I could probably also find other civilizations as well that had these kinds of rules.
Yeah, that's always fascinated me a little bit about the history of it. Even as far back as the early part of last century is something that can still be afforded to explore, in my opinion.
Indeed.
Yeah. Now, I went through some of your stuff because I think after you lost your channel, I hadn't been back to visit. I'd heard what happened, but I hadn't really gone back and visited the new stuff. So I went back the other day, and I think I just want to go over a few of your talking points. Maybe get you to explain them again here for those of you, for those out there.
For the 5th billionth time, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes.
And there's a lot of people out there that probably haven't heard it yet, and this will give them an opportunity to get introduced to some of your stuff. And one of the, actually I was talking to another, who was it now? I cannot remember. It was another content provider now. I don't, his name slips my mind, but he basically said to me, have you heard Sexy MGTOW's definition of what it is to be a brothers and brotherhood? Yes. So I went and listened to it, and actually I thought it was very interesting how you gave the definition of how brothers have a relationship where it's sort of a dynamic between cooperation and competition.
Yes.
Now, why don't you go into a little bit more detail on that?
Well, the first thing I'd like to mention is that while some of my ideas are probably new, a lot of my ideas are based off of old stuff, even if there's my own little twist on it. So the first thing to know is a lot of what is a brother and how I came to this sort of idea. A lot of it is from Jack Donovan.
Okay.
In his book about the way of men.
Okay, I haven't read that book.
I do recommend it. I haven't finished it, but I've gotten like halfway through it in my spare time. It's not a very long book, so honestly, I'm just like a lazy fucking reader. So
right.
But a lot of it came from that. But basically, what he talks about is that men operate in groups of gangs, and there's different levels of gangs. So you have, the wide level, which is the nation. My apologies on that.
That's okay.
I don't think it's anyone I need to...
If you want to take it, it's all right, because I can always edit this.
Yeah, no, just edit that out. I don't think... It's the color ID. I don't know, so... Not
all
a big deal.
Okay, anyway, continuing with...
Continuing on.
Yeah.
So you have nation, right? That's like the biggest sort of gang of men. And then it goes down to like the firing squad, which is like a group of buddies, right? That's how Jack Donovan sort of frames it. And the brotherhood is basically from that whole scale, from the nationwide thing to the, small fire squad group. And in between you have, the military, which is, basically the nation's military. You have the workers and all that kind of stuff. So you have different tiers of the brotherhood. And then within that, of course, you have brothers. And yeah, the whole point is that you have different hierarchies. Hierarchies to me are not a bad thing, because equality is bullshit to my knowledge and to my understanding of how the world works. And basically you have different brothers of different qualities, and they basically constantly compete and cooperate within each sphere. So for example, I'm not necessarily, I work out, but I know for a fact I'm never going to be a bodybuilder. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Both because of a lack of interest and because probably genetics as well. Because I'm very short as it is anyway. So, and the point I make is there are brothers that are very smart. There are brothers that are very stupid. And the point is you're supposed to cooperate and compete with them in that sphere and in other spheres as well, and by doing so you grow. And that's kind of what men do throughout history. We are constantly seeking to grow, because by nature men are indifferent to each other, and this indifference, while it may seem more like an apathetic thing, the point is we can pick and choose, sort of, so to speak. Yeah, free will doesn't exist to my knowledge, but you sort of pick and choose where you want to grow and how you want to grow. And by cooperating and competing with each other, you sort of do that. Whereas by nature, women are enemies, and they can't do these things.
Okay, good. It's an interesting concept. Actually, when I was turned on to that video, and I listened to it, and it's nice because it's very short and to the point. I had to agree. I have to agree with those concepts of cooperation or competition. And it's a dynamic. Now, I don't know, do you have any concepts of how, I guess, how they differ when men relate, how cooperation differs from competition, and maybe give some examples?
So as we're talking right now, we are essentially right now, because men always do this. Men are always competing and cooperating, even on a subconscious level, so to speak.
Okay.
I don't really consider it subconscious because I can see it, in any conversation at all. The point being that, like I said, men can throw each other away. So if you're not valuable, men, at least, men with backbone, have no issue throwing you away. And I don't mean that in the sense of not treating you like a human being or anything like that. What I mean is they'll throw you away because they respect that you're not useful to them, but you can be useful to someone else, and so they don't want to waste time.
Right.
So an example, I can't really think of necessarily an example for this, but like video games.
Mm-hmm.
I play a lot of video games. And so video games are very dominated by men, primarily because they revolve around competitive and co-op. Any multiplayer game typically involves teams, which again, mostly men, because mostly men play video games, especially those kinds of games that are competitive. And typically you have a team that you have to work with, and typically these teams are random. Unless you have, like, online friends, which, may not always be on because, different time zones and everything.
Okay, you're talking about online games.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm familiar with them, yeah.
So, like, I play MOBAs, for example, right?
Okay.
Are you familiar with MOBAs?
I'm not familiar with that game. Is it like a first-person shooter, or...?
No, MOBAs typically have, like, an RTS-style camera.
Oh, okay.
Usually you control one unit. It depends on the MOBA.
Oh, yes.
I've played pretty much every single MOBA, so...
Okay, yeah, I understand, yeah.
But basically you have, in MOBAs, for example, you have teams of 5 versus 5. So you have 5 people on one team, 5 people on the other, and you basically try to destroy the other's base.
Okay.
And the point is, usually you're matched with strangers. And sure, there are assholes, of course, but typically speaking, it's always fascinating to me how strangers can come together and work towards a goal. Mm-hmm. Especially strangers that are men. Because, again, they're mostly men anyway, so, we're just going to go with that assumption because that's mostly what they are.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to me because, I don't know you, I don't necessarily like you, I don't necessarily hate you, but we're going to work together to grow. That is very much an example, I would say, of how masculinity works in terms of what is a brotherhood.
Okay. Now, that's interesting because I was going to ask you how that relationship is different with women, and you've already mentioned how they tend to compete more with each other.
Yes.
Now, have you ever come across women in that game that you knew were women?
Yeah, I had one try to add me as like a friend, but of course I declined just because I don't want to deal with that shit.
Right.
And she wasn't bad, but here's the thing. First of all, I don't deal with women at all. Personally, as my MGTOW lifestyle, I don't talk to women. I'm not friends with women. I don't fuck them. I don't care. Right? So I never want to associate with them if at all possible. Right?
Okay.
But with regards to gaming and women, it's a little different because typically they tend to do support roles, which is not uncommon. But the way the dynamic with women works, gaming is kind of a bad example because again they don't really do it, and it's not. The reason they do gaming is not to do what men do. See, men do gaming to, do competitive co-op. Have a goal, have an objective, and complete that objective. I mean, that's why gaming is so popular because masculinity isn't allowed so much as in society anymore, at least in Western society anyway.
Okay.
And so we retreat into video games because the video games basically say you can be violent, you can trash talk, you can do all this crazy stuff, and no one cares because it's all about, at the end of the day, it's about the winning. It's about the competition, right? Whereas in society, that's not allowed anymore. generally speaking. It's just not allowed.
Yeah, of course.
When women play games, it's what I talk about with parasites. If you have all the parasites going after, say, sports league type of men, you don't have enough parasites, and you don't have enough hosts for the parasites, right? So when women go into these other avenues like art or video games or anything like that, and I'm going to have videos actually showcasing the difference between male artists and female artists, and how female artists have no understanding of aesthetics at all. But the point is, they only go into these interests. It's a feigned interest. It's not real. They only do it to find different hosts. Because, again, you can't have parasites attack the same exact style of hosts. You're not going to have enough hosts for that shit. So you need to have different groups of females going into different avenues to find different hosts to leech off of. So that's kind of why they play video games. But in general, how women work, they're always enemies. And they're not competing to grow because, see, women are born with everything they need to be women. They're just born with it, right? They're born with a vagina. They're born with all that uterus shit. They're born with all that. All they need to do is get fucked and have a baby. That's it. That's their biological function, right? Their biological function is not to grow, so to speak, right? That's why they mature earlier than men as well. So when women interact, they're doing so not to have a sisterhood. The sisterhood is bullshit. It doesn't actually exist. They're doing it to create an illusion. They mimic men. I've talked about this many, many a time. They mimic male behavior, and they have no actual understanding of male behavior. So, I mean, I've talked about this before, but women claimed that they wanted freedom, right? But the reality is, what they really wanted to do was join the workforce and become a voter.
Yeah.
That's not freedom. That's just becoming a cog in the machine. See, their understanding of freedom was that men worked for them to produce stuff for them to get, resources, things like that. And that was their idea of freedom. But that's not even freedom for men. If you wanted freedom, you would ask to leave the society. You wouldn't ask to be a part of the society.
Right.
And so that's one of my main examples when it comes to women not understanding men, but they mimic them.
Right. Okay. That's some interesting concepts there. And I'd have to agree with you when you say women are basically born with everything they need. I agree with that concept, and I think that that is a big difference between men and women in the world, and how we start out.
Yes.
I think definitely that's something I want to touch on as we keep going through this interview, because it's definitely going to come up when we get into some of the conflict that you've had in the past.
Yes.
But I think before we move into that idea, is there anything else you want to say right now about that difference there between the men and women? We might as well get that out of the way first.
I mean, there's not. It's really, a lot of people like to think that there's huge differences between the sexes, but they're not that different because there's nothing much to women. So most of the difference lies in what men are, not really so much what women are, because there's not much to them.
Right.
That's all I have to really end with for now, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to definitely revisit those concepts because I find them fascinating, and myself as a teacher, I definitely know what you're talking about when they mature, both emotionally and physically faster than boys.
I wouldn't say emotionally. I would say manipulatively.
Okay, sure. That's an interesting take on it. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Now, before we get into some of the conflict, let's segue into it a little bit by you maybe tell us a little bit about your education, kind of what you've been studying, and maybe how that relates to some of your concepts now.
Yeah, I always hate the word education because the school system in America is shit.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But basically, I'm in college right now. I have another year of college. I'm studying graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
I never drew until college. I was primarily a writer. I started writing like poetry and prose at 13 years old. So that's where I really, really lie in. But I didn't want to be an English teacher because I don't like kids.
Right.
And teachers to me are just boring because most of them suck.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
At least you're honest about that. There you go. So I decided, okay, I still want to do something creative, and besides writing, there's really only drawing things or designing things, which the only problem with graphic design is, what kind of sucks is I respect the Renaissance painters and those ancient, guys who would just spend years doing oil painting and make these beautiful paintings. I respect that shit, but the problem is, I know I'm never going to reach there because the society we live in nowadays does not allow us to do that. It doesn't allow us to experience art on that very, very deep level, that very professional level. Mostly what they're looking for, graphic designers, they're just looking for, marketers.
Right.
Just make the box look pretty, right? Which isn't very hard to do, and I will not be afforded the time to sit there and oil paint for years producing, various things like the Sistine Chapel or, anything Salvador Dali or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just won't have the time to do it. And sure, you can get close to it. I mean, certainly there are computer graphic artists that get very close to it, but it's the difference between typing a poem and writing a poem on paper, which my college, for example, has a poetry club, and I visited once, and that was it, because mostly they're just typing on a computer. And that to me is so asinine. That's not poetry, that's writing on a computer. If you're not writing it physically, what's the fucking point?
Right. So the medium is pretty important to you.
Exactly, and that kind of brings me to the point of education. They're not there to educate you. They're not there to, not excluding present company, of course, necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But most teachers are not there to teach you at all. They're basically just going to go from the textbook. Most classes are bullshit. I mean, I had a class called Cultural Diversity, which, first of all, it was funny because the entire class never once actually purported any facts that cultural diversity was even a good thing, which I don't think it's a good thing. And I have facts to back that up. But, they say oh, we should live in a culturally diverse society, but they never say why. Why should we live in a culturally diverse society? Is there some kind of benefit I'm missing? Is it beneficial for whites, blacks, Muslims, Jews to go ahead and fuck each other? I mean, I'm not understanding the point here. Because it would appear to me, the Middle East, you got Jews, Muslims, Palestinians, all that crazy shit. That's going to be fucked up. That's going to be fucked up. Same thing with whites and blacks in America. It's fucked up. So why do it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I believe, historical evidence, even up till modern day, that that kind of forcing of diversity doesn't always pan out so well.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same thing with regards to women and rights. If giving women rights means they're going to break up the family, they're going to fuck over society, they're going to increase taxes, all this other crazy shit, why give them rights? Why do it?
Okay, and maybe it's interesting when you say that. And again, these are some of the controversial stuff you say, and I have no problem with it. I love controversial stuff. That's why I'm talking to you.
I don't try to be controversial. I just try to be logical.
I believe you, man. I totally. That's why I love your material. But regarding women and rights, and you say, why give women rights? It's very similar. It has a similar. The outcome can often be as similar as trying to force diversity.
Exactly.
Maybe you when you say the word rights, it sort of makes people's hair stand on end, right? They think
exactly, because people like to, people say that I view the world in black and white, and I'm an objectivist, so in a sense I do. But a lot of people don't seem the people think that you either love Jews or you fucking want to murder them all. Right. They have such bipolar stances on these issues. Either you are for women's rights or you want them to, die and murder and kill them all. Right. Which isn't true. I don't see the point in killing women. I don't see the point in that at all. That'd be a waste of energy and effort. Do I think they should be used to basically breed humans? I mean, that's about what they do, yeah. I don't think they should be in coal mines. I don't think they should be in the military. I don't think they should be in the workforce at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, my real view is that you should probably just have artificial wombs because it saves you so much energy and effort.
Yeah, well, that tends to be a hot topic in the MGTOW communities. Artificial womb technology, definitely. Okay, well, let me see here. I want to kind of now that I want to kind of segue into some of the conflict and things that have been coming up. And again, like we just talked about, when you mentioned about women shouldn't have rights, equating no rights to women makes a lot of people kind of go up in arms and
Exactly.
Kind of go crazy.
As I said, because they probably think I want to kill them all because I don't think they should have rights, but that's not true.
Well, and it might not. It might not even be that extreme as far as killing them, but it's sort of like the word oppression. They think you want to oppress.
Yeah,
them.
I hate those words. I hate those fucking words. I hate empowerment. I hate oppression. I hate using those words.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I actually say, like, when people say men are oppressed, I get pissed off because it's like, first of all, that's a victim mentality, and I don't think men should have a victim mentality.
I don't think anybody should, personally.
Well, I mean, when women are designed to be victims, I mean, can you expect anything else?
Right. Okay. So so basically you're saying that sort of going back to how you said women are kind of born complete with their function. Part of that function is sort of a sort of victim mentality.
Yes, because think about it. Women have to invent things. I mean, that's what we're seeing now, modern days, right? They invented the whole rape thing. If you look at the statistics, rape is not the most prevalent crime in America.
No.
In America, aggravated assault is a fuck ton more prevalent. I think it was like 240 something out of like 100 cases were like aggravated assault, 100,000 cases, and like only like 11 point something was rape.
Right. Yeah.
That would lead me to believe we live in an aggravated assault culture, if anything, and not a rape culture. But you see, women have to invent problems, because if they don't have any problems, men don't need to protect them. And biologically speaking, they need men not only to protect them, but to provide resources, to be a utility. That's what we're designed for with regards to their perspective, right?
Yeah.
So women are designed to be victims, because they need something to be fearful of or need protecting from, so they'll make shit up, like rape culture.
Right, and so basically, and that's an interesting take on it. The sort of the victim narrative, sort of, I guess, what's the word? Sort of peacocks the woman's vulnerability to a point where she is getting the utility out of the man, as far as protection is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very interesting, man. Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, so I think what I'd like to do now, let's kind of go into a little bit of the history of your presence in the community here, and talk about what happened with your channel, kind of what led up to that, because this is also very interesting stuff for a lot of people,
Sure.
And I maybe we can segue into it by going back to when you said. We're talking about brothers and brotherhood and how men are willing to throw their brothers away. Do you think that can somehow be connected to the controversy that happened? Before we actually specifically define the controversy, do you think that can be connected to it?
Yes, because people can look at my channel or look at what I'm saying and think that it's not worthy of their time, right? And it's not worthy of other people's time. And if it's not worthy of other men's time, then other men who perceive this may go ahead and throw it away, or may flag my content, or may disapprove, or what have you, right? And that's what men that's why men argue, right? Yeah. That's why in the MGTOW community we've often talked about arguments, and I see nothing wrong with arguments, because that's what men do. I mean, because people who don't want arguments are the people who don't want growth, which is basically women, because men argue because we need to grow, and the only way to grow is to destroy. Okay, you have to destroy something to grow something. You have to plant something, but when you plant something, you have to move the dirt around. You got to dig a hole. Then you plant something, you cover that hole up, and boom, you got something new, right?
Okay.
So in order to build upon something, you do, in a way, need to destroy it. In fact, actually, Socrates actually has a very nice quote that I like, that the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new.
Right.
Now, that may seem a little counterintuitive than the conflict thing, but the point is you have to throw away the old. You don't fight it, right? You don't say, oh, let's just debate about this for hours and hours on end. No, you say, if it's old, it doesn't work, you throw it away, and you build on the new stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a little difference than necessarily destroying something, but generally speaking, argumentation leads to growth.
Right.
And so with regards to the controversy of my channel, men could look at my channel and say, this is wrong, this is bad, what have you, and they'll want to throw it away. They'll want to tell other men to throw it away.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for anybody listening, for those of you that don't know, Sexy MGTOW had some problems regarding his first channel, and it ended up getting removed. So I think maybe what you can do now, Sexy, is why don't you kind of, give kind of a brief retelling of kind of what happened, give as many details as you want, and fill in the listener of what happened.
Sure. So I had like a few hundred videos before I responded to a user by the name of Tilder. And Tilder responded to me, and it was weird because I do have them. I have about 4 videos on women as non-human beings. Mm-hmm. And all 4 of these videos existed at the time that Tilder responded to me. Mm-hmm. But Tilder chose to respond to the one video I made. That was the first video. It was unscripted, and it wasn't very concise. Because it was unscripted, right? So he responded to that video, and I directed him to the other 3 videos, and he has never once bothered responding to these other 3 videos that were scripted. They had facts listed out in them. Everything was planned out. Everything was way more concise and defined. Right? Instead, he opts to just attack the unscripted video that was rather shit, honestly.
And what was the specific point that he pointed out that...
He was arguing, it's the same argument that I always get with regards to saying women are non-human beings.
Okay.
Usually people then say I'm calling them subhuman. I'm not calling them subhuman. I'm saying they're non-human. Huge different things. But the other thing is people want to refer to them as the physical entity, right? And yeah, the physical entity is human, sure. I mean, if you want to argue genetics, I mean, even then you could still break it down and say, they don't have a Y chromosome, whereas we do, so even genetically speaking, they're not human. But I don't really want to make that argument. The argument I'm talking about when I say women are not human beings is the outer shell of females is human. That skin, that liver, all that shit, that's all the shit inside of them, yeah, that's all human shit. Right? I got that. But inside of this shell, the person inside is not real. It's just a mimicry. It's nothing more. She is an empty vessel. She's an empty vessel. She's a mannequin on the inside. Or a parasite, if you prefer.
Okay.
So that's the point. He was confused. He was primarily making the argument that, genetically they're human and they have all these, personality traits, but their personality traits are hollow. They're not actually real. They're just there to mimic what men do. It's the difference between style over substance.
Okay, interesting. And now I'll just kind of not in Tilder's defense, but maybe I'm going to just kind of explain to the listener that Tilder is he's not a MGTOW, and his shtick, for lack of a better word, is response videos and their criticisms. That's how he gets his subscribers. That's how that's what he's rode on to be popular. So, I mean, if he gets something pointed out to him that he doesn't like, boom, that's how he gets his listenership.
It's mostly for entertainment too. It's not like
it's very
when he was responding to me, he mostly alluded that I was Hitler.
Oh, okay.
Which he half that video was clips of Hitler doing speeches while playing my voice over it.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, and the problem I have with that, first of all, he does it half the video is that. I swear to you, half the fucking video is that. Huh. And the other thing is, it's funny because people are like, oh, just replace women with Jews, and it's like, okay, but women aren't Jews.
Yeah. I've heard that comparison too. It's pretty silly.
Exactly. It's like we're talking about apples and oranges here. Can women be Jews? Yeah, sure. Fuck it. Why not? But women as a concept, not really Jewish. No, not really. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. The point is context. He was fucking around with the context. First of all, he was splitting up the audio, which is my first problem because the point of making a video is you listen to the whole fucking video. Mm-hmm. You don't listen to the first minute of the video, cut to some fucking guy relating me to Hitler, and then come back to the next second minute.
Yeah. Well, that's his entertainment shtick. That's his entertainment shtick. I mean,
that's my point. It's not really criticism. it's more of an entertainment thing
Yeah.
rather than actually debate, because you don't go to a debate and say you're Hitler.
Yeah.
That's not an argument.
Yeah.
That's nothing more than rallying people, especially in the West, because like I'm learning German, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time I tell people I'm learning German, I have to like immediately back up and say I'm not planning to live in Germany or anything, because like people in America are so obsessed with Jews and the Holocaust.
Right.
The propaganda is so fucking firm and strong here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you tell them you're learning a language that has nothing to do with Nazis.
Right.
And you have to immediately support like that you're not doing any of that.
Right. Yeah. Well,
It's frankly disgusting.
Yeah, and well, we can get more into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to also point out that a lot of popular channels within kind of the communities that MGTOW rolls are users that like that they love that format of like pick out a video they don't like and respond to it. Okay, so
exactly, it's a mob mentality sort of thing. And with regards to mob mentality, I mean, I love how Tilder picks me, which at the time of his first response, I had like 1,500 subscribers. He has 15,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the point that I make there is his channel is by far much more of an echo chamber than mine could ever possibly be.
Okay, yeah, well, that makes sense with the numbers. I mean, the more people.
So again, the mob mentality sort of thing is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can see that. But to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of people that use that format, and it's a successful format. Honestly, like if you
for entertainment, yes.
Yeah, it's very successful. And if you want to if you really want to have a successful channel, I would recommend to anybody out there try to go for that kind of response video format. It's not my thing, but and a lot of MGTOWs don't really do that. They're more
well, because most of us, to my knowledge, aren't in it for any sort of fame or money
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, given the situation, if I was in a situation where I needed money, yeah, I would probably ask for it. Same thing with Stardust or Barbarossa. Yeah, I would probably ask for it. But at this point in my life, I still got a year in college. My parents support me. I live with them. It's all good.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah,
I don't have a need for money, so I don't ask for it.
yeah. But yeah. So anyway, again, going back to what happened with your channel, I guess it did start. That's kind of where it started, with the Tilder response video, and
yeah. So Tilder responded, and then I made a response to him, and my response to him was linked to by Tilder, and pretty much after that it got flagged, and you could see massive, and it was funny because before he linked to it, the dislike to like ratio was totally like 90% likes.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tilder links to it, and all of a sudden it just gets trashed. Right.
Not surprising. Not surprising.
And then it gets flagged. And it got flagged, it got removed for apparently violating community guidelines. And I find it funny that the community guidelines apparently don't allow for me to respond to Tilder, but Tilder can go ahead and relate me to Hitler, and that's A-okay. Apparently that's fine.
Yeah, well...
Which I find that to be a great insult, especially when I'm not remotely like Hitler in any real capacity.
Yeah.
Both politically, intellectually, anything like that. Like, I'm not a nationalist, really. I'm not a socialist, anything like that. So, like, in no way really am I related to Hitler.
Yeah.
From my understanding.
Well, of course, but I mean, you don't want to take it too seriously. I mean, YouTube is a
Sure.
crazy.
No, yeah, I've taken it less seriously because I mean, as you said, I'm the apparently controversial channel, so
Yeah.
I get this. I've been getting this shit more and more. In fact, when I return to my channel, you'll notice most of my videos have 50% like, 50% dislike.
Mm.
And you'll notice actually, I like some of my first videos on the new channel. Tilder supporters are there.
Yeah, and that's...
In fact, I have a troll called Sexy MGTOW.
Yes, I've seen him, man. That's just insane.
That's from Tilder, and the point that is from Tilder, and my point is that's the community that he breeds.
Yeah,
It's sort of my mentality of the guy who's going to waste his fucking time making an account called Sexy MGTOW. And he's funny. I like him. The other troll I didn't like. I don't remember his name because I didn't like him. But Sexy MGTOW I like. I like him. He's funny.
Well, and it's good. I really wanted to get into the trolling thing as well, but it's funny because I think there's a lot of these kind of trolls around, and you're right. I think they do come from certain channels or communities that are kind of herded often by their follower, whoever's the content provider, towards those they are supposed to troll and criticize. And I did Sandman last week, right? And man, that guy is full of trolls. One guy's called Sandman Secrets, and one guy's, I can't remember another guy's name, and he's got Sandman's picture as a avatar, as his avatar. I've had guys when I had my avatar up, which I recently changed it to the rooster, but when I had my avatar that said "Gone Fistin'" with the sign, I had a guy start trolling me that said, what was it? I am serious, or I am racist. The same sign, the little sign, but then on the sign, I am racist.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these guys around, and I too thought the same thing. Like, what possesses you? What do you do every day?
I know, it's just a waste of time. Like,
yeah,
like at least Sexy MGTOW is funny. I'll give him that. He made me laugh, but.
Right.
Like that's the thing. Like you put all this effort into a little joke. I mean, you could have done better. I mean, more efficiently.
Well, it's just. I mean, I understand the concept of trolling. Okay, I can understand going and kind of pestering somebody and stirring up shit, but to actually go through the trouble to make an account, to mimic the person you want to troll, and dedicate that much time to trolling one person.
Well, I mean, you are on the internet, and I mean, I'm very familiar with Chan culture, and I assure you, people who are like associated with Chans, including me, we have a lot of time. We have a lot of time on our hands.
I guess so.
So if you want something to exist, it probably already does because someone had the fucking time to make it. The weirdest fucking shit. I'm not even talking like porn or anything. I'm just talking weird fucking shit.
Yeah.
It probably exists because I've seen weird shit. And it's just people apparently spend their time doing it.
Right. Yeah, it's really bizarre, man. Now, okay, when exactly did that all go down? Like how long? What? Give us a time frame here.
I have no fucking idea.
No. I mean the Tilder criticism.
I have no fucking idea. I don't remember useless shit.
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to.
So like if you asked me what my father's birthday was, I wouldn't fucking know.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to put it in my. It must have been what? I don't know, 6 months.
It was probably like at least half a year ago.
Yeah, 6 months ago, I guess. Because, all right. So anyway,
if I had to guess, but that's don't quote me.
Yeah, right.
Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't remember either exactly the time, but.
But that was the first one, and then. The other videos that got flagged, I got flagged for my video on Sky Williams, who, I mean, looking back on it, it was a kind of a wasted video anyway.
What was it exactly? I don't think I saw
it. It was just a video replying to, Sky Williams is a YouTube personality that primarily talks about League of Legends, but he was talking about female streamers.
Okay.
And he was like, so female streamers shouldn't get half naked because it makes it harder for other female streamers, and I'm just thinking to myself, so? Right. So, like, that's like me arguing because Sandman accepts donations, it makes it harder for me to get any attention. Like, I don't care. I don't see how that is relevant. I don't see how that matters. And as far as I'm concerned, women generally suck at games. And even the best female gamer still sucks compared to the best male gamer, regardless, whether you're talking generalities or not. So the fact of the matter is, honestly, most females probably should show off their tits on live streams, because the fuck else are they going to do?
Oh God! I mean, I guess in comparison, if you go to if you look at any if you look at any channel that is hosted by a woman that stands in front of a camera, either she's very attractive or with a low cut blouse.
Not even very attractive. Like Feminism Law, for example, had more subscribers than me.
Yeah.
And I found her content completely retarded. Because she's a woman who's like, I'm not a woman, and I'm like, you're totally a fucking woman.
Well, that's
you're a woman. Don't.
That's the benefit that women have. It's just the way it is. It's not good or bad.
Exactly, but it's sad to see that even MGTOW falls into that trap. But
they do. MGTOW.
Exactly, I know they do. But back to this guy Williams thing. The main reason I responded to him was because he talked about how the sexual standards for women are somehow like too high or some shit like that, and I'm like, okay, so we're talking about female live streamers who make thousands of dollars. Because there are videos that you can see people donate like $5,000 to these fucking female streamers.
Jesus.
Right? And you're telling me that their life is so fucking hard and that their life is so sexualized, but the millions of men in America who are genitally mutilated at birth, that sexual standard is totally not that high compared to the fucking showing off your tits at live. Like, are you shitting me?
That's a good point, actually. And
that was my main point. So you're gonna dedicate 6 minutes of your fucking life talking about how women have it so hard with sexual standards when Sky Williams lives in America, where millions of men are mutilated, and you're not going to complain about that sexual standard, but women showing off their tits making other women's lives apparently harder somehow. That's what you're going to complain about.
You know, actually, just on a side note, that's something that I don't think I ever saw come up in the whole Gamergate debate, where which was obviously pioneered by Sarsqueezian.
Gamergate's bullshit.
Yeah, but
Gamergate's just social justice warriors fighting other social justice warriors. That's all.
Yeah, but one thing I maybe that's the reason why I never heard it come up, but what you just mentioned is that if women are so I don't know what there's a lot of sexism and women get abuse in online gaming, why did nobody bring up that they're making thousands of dollars a month streaming?
Exactly. Because you could find tons of videos of women like freaking out that someone donated $5,000, $3,000, $6,000. I've seen as much as $6,000 videos that they got $6,000 legitimately. It's not a troll. Legitimately, someone gave them $6,000.
Yeah, those poor babies.
For being on camera, playing a video game that they suck at, while showing off their tits.
Poor babies.
And I'm just sitting here, going, I don't get paid to exist. Like Zoe Quinn, for example. Zoe Quinn gets paid about $4,000 a month to exist.
Unbelievable.
Not even to show tits or anything, right? But she gets paid $4,000 a month from her Patreon. Last I checked, it was $4,000. Could be more now.
Right.
But $4,000 a month just to exist. And you're going to tell me that they have it so hard to exist. What's that? Not even to make anything. She just says, I need to exist to make things. So pay me money. That's all she's doing. She's not actually making a current product that they're actually putting money towards. They're just putting money towards her living.
Yeah, it's a strange...
And she only needs $600 a month.
Yeah. Strange times
She even
we
said
live
she
in.
only needs $600.
Very strange times we live in, brother. I'll tell you that. Now,
Oh, yes.
now I want to, continuing with this vein, now, I at the beginning, I said you were kind of controversial, and which is fine. And
I think it's the wrong word, but
yeah, sure, maybe it's the wrong word to use, but of course you're going to get that all the time, no matter what community you're in. But another word that often pops up outside of MGTOW channels, especially those who dislike the MGTOW community and who are very critical of it in sort of a negative way, is radical.
Oh yes.
Right? Now, I don't think I'd be mistaken if I said that your name's probably been dropped along with radical.
Yep. An extremist.
Yeah. Now, why don't you give me your own opinions and ideas of this concept of the radical MGTOW?
So, to my knowledge, the only reason I'm a radical MGTOW or an extremist is apparently because I view things in this black and white stream. And again, I'm an objectivist. So yes, I kind of do view it in a black and white stream, but there are subtleties to this. Generally speaking, most of the time it is black and white, because either you have the dumb idea that gets you stupid shit, like women's rights getting you all the other shit I've listed off, or you have the smart idea, which is basically artificial wombs, and you don't have to deal with them anymore. There you go, right? But that makes me somehow an extremist, because apparently I should be accepting of females. But my point is, why should I accept shit?
So, what would make, let's say, okay, what would make you a radical, and let's say another content provider not? I mean, what separates that? What?
Probably the weight of the ideas is probably what separates them. Because, for example, Sandman, I don't watch his stuff because it's very basic shit. I don't care. Right? It's very basic shit to me. So I stopped watching him long ago just because it was so boring to watch. It didn't appease me. Okay. Now, Barbarossa and Stardust, yes, they generally do deeper topics, but generally they go fucking on forever. Right? Mm-hmm. Whereas me, I try to keep my videos generally as short as possible. Right. To get to the point. Right? And the point is that I think the gravity of the idea is Sandman isn't called a radical MGTOW because generally he just addresses basic shit. You know, he's MGTOW 101. Me, I'm MGTOW 201. I don't know, but right. The point is the gravity of the idea. So my idea is, replace, having sex and everything with artificial wombs and sex robots, and boom, you've solved the female problem. Because I mean, the other even Razorblade Candy pointed this out. Okay. That we don't want to go back to traditionalism, and we can't do equality. So our options, and this is according to Razorblade Candy at the time, he said that our options are either continue with what we're doing and, fuck shit up more, or we go to, like, Sharia law and become like Islam, right? Right. And I don't like either of those options. Again, my personal preference is you get artificial wombs and sex robots, and boom, men no longer fucking bother with women. Because no matter the man I've talked to, whether he be a MGTOW or not, and none of my friends are MGTOW. None of my friends are MGTOW in real life. So when I've talked to them and I've asked them, would you prefer a robot rather than an actual human being? And they said, yeah, I prefer a robot. Interesting. I definitely prefer a sex robot that was female and had a personality and shit. Definitely would prefer all that shit.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to know.
So what makes me radical is basically just the gravity of the idea.
Yeah, and it's interesting how when you brought up sort of how Sandman is sort of 101. He's pretty...
Honestly, I find his content worthless, but
yeah,
I'm just bored.
Well, there's a lot of people that would agree with you in the community. I mean, I've heard it personally many times, but then again, he's got a lot of followers and
again, yeah, because he appeals to the masses, which isn't a problem necessarily. But when you're appealing to the masses, you got to make basic shit.
Yeah, but the thing
which I don't want to do.
Yeah, but the thing, what I'm trying to get at that I thought was interesting is that we started talking about kind of the trolling that you receive, and I would think it's safe to say that Sandman's, I think he's up there he's pretty even with you when it comes to trolling, yet he's not really the radical.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, I think part of it is just that people associate MGTOW in one little box. Because there are MGTOW like Sandman that talk about basic ass shit that I couldn't give a shit about. And there are MGTOW like me who talk about what I would consider a bit more depth in terms of topic. Or, Stardust who talks fucking forever about fucking shit. Or deeper shit, generally speaking, anyway. And then there's Spetsnaz who fucking creates fucking art.
Right.
With his fucking videos, right? So a lot of people take all these different ideals and different channels and all this stuff, and they kind of just throw into MGTOW, into one little box of like MGTOW is radical, MGTOW is racist, MGTOW is all this other shit, right?
Yeah, well.
So I think they just take all of that and put it into one square, when in reality MGTOW is a bunch of fucking different squares.
Yes, I would agree with that. And actually, another thing I wanted to point on here is if I could say there was any real difference between the trolls that have infected you and the trolls that have infected Sandman, is I think he gets maybe there isn't too much of a difference, but it seems to me that he gets a lot of hate from within the community. Now, I wanted to ask.
Well, I think that's because the mob mentality coming from primarily Thinking Ape side, or Stardust.
Okay. Yeah,
because he definitely has mob mentality as well.
Perhaps, yeah. But what I wanted to ask you was, do you see any kind of friction from within the community, and if so, how?
With regards to just Sandman, or just in general?
No. I'm talking about you and your content, because obviously, I mean, I know you don't like the word controversy.
I've noticed at least 3 commenters very recently, and I'm aware of much more, I'm sure, that just lurk or don't comment at all. I have a lot of people who say, I like Sexy MGTOW's content. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says, but I find it interesting.
Okay.
I love those kinds of people the fucking most. Because those are the most fucking reasonable, right? Because, you know, when we're talking about subscribers and followers and shit, I don't want followers, because I'm not a fucking leader. I don't want to lead you, because you're not my fucking responsibility, right? So I don't want to lead people. I don't want to do anything like that. I just want to promote ideas that I have. And ideas that I get from other people. Because, like I said, a lot of my ideas are from, like, people call me a radical and shit, and it's like, with regards to my views on women, a lot of that comes from philosophers that existed long before me. H.L. Mencken being one of them, Schopenhauer being another, even Nietzsche.
Right.
All these guys were philosophers that were very prominent at their time, and they viewed women largely the same as I do.
Yeah, they were very controversial, that's right. Even in their time.
Even in their time, yes, they were controversial, but less so, though. Less so.
Yeah, perhaps.
Because it was more generally accepted, because, you know, it's funny because people want to live in this world where women are these magical entities, but the reality is that, you know, even from the fucking Bible, right? Which you know, I'm not religious, but the point is, even the Bible points out that women are shit.
Oh yeah,
it's a woman that fucks everything up.
Yeah.
And in various Greek stories, same thing. Women fuck everything up.
Yeah, a lot of Greek stories. A lot of the antagonists end up being women. Sorry, a lot of antagonists to the heroes end up being women. You're right.
Exactly. But with regards to friction in the MGTOW community, I mean, like I said, it's a brotherhood at the end of the day, and so you're going to have conflict. You're going to have all this bickering, some of it needless, but even the needless bickering, you know, I used to hate small talk, right? But I understand why small talk exists. Small talk exists to sort of judge whether or not it's safe to reveal more pertinent information to someone. So if you can't talk to them about the fucking weather, how the fuck are you going to talk to them about fucking politics, right?
Right.
So small talk has its purpose. Needless bickering has its purpose. I don't like it. Sometimes I engage in it myself, but the point is, you're going to have it in the MGTOW community because it's a bunch of fucking men. And if you don't want women involved, then you're going to have probably more conflict in terms of idea bashing. See, female conflict is a little more subtle, but it's even probably more depraved, honestly, in terms of how extreme it is.
Okay, now continue. Continue. Continue your idea.
So I was gonna say, yeah, it's like I lose it and I get it. What I was gonna say was like, men will like in MGTOW will argue about like what's okay to do in MGTOW, like is it okay to take money, is it not okay to take money? Whereas what women will do will say like, women will subtly say, you know, kill all fucking men, and no one gives a shit.
So basically, the way, okay, and this is kind of going back to where we began, which is fine, where the conflict between men is very different in how women have
conflict between men can be as simple as, you know, I don't like what you're fucking saying because it's fucking stupid. And conflict between women is typically subtle, but it's more depraved. And again, an example would be kill all men. You don't see hashtag kill all women.
No, you don't.
Because men aren't fucking stupid, right? Men aren't depraved well, men are stupid, but not in that sense. Men aren't depraved assholes. Now, not to say men haven't killed people, but the point I bring up is, show me any man who has killed 1 billion babies in just 40 years.
Oh, you're referring to abortion?
Yes, women have aborted in just 40 fucking years. 40! Just half my life. Right? Half my lifespan, they've killed in a little over double my lifespan. They've killed over 1 billion babies. Humans can't even comprehend the number billion. By the way, Jesus. You can't even imagine that scope.
That's the population of China.
Exactly. Yeah, they've killed China. They've killed China in just 40 years.
Wow.
Not a single fucking war has come close to that. Even if you combined every single war that was supposedly invented by men, it doesn't even come close to that. Combine them.
Yeah. No, you're
doesn't
right.
matter.
Right.
Doesn't come close. Right?
You're right.
When people say like, "Oh, men are just as bad," no, I have yet to see a man or any war or anything that killed over 1 billion babies. I haven't seen that shit. So let me know when they're just as bad, because I haven't seen it and I don't expect to see it because we're not depraved.
Yeah. So going back a few steps, when you said hashtag kill all men. Obviously, that's never come out of the manosphere towards women.
No.
But we can't forget that there are some self-proclaimed male feminists, right? And I'm wondering, I bet you the ratio of male feminists passing that hashtag around compared to the females is pretty lopsided.
Exactly. Since I don't think I've seen a single male feminist ever purport to kill all men, and if they did, I would advise them to go kill themselves. Because how else are you gonna solve this problem?
Yeah, and that's kind of fascinating because I wonder, if I was trying to put myself into the mind of a male feminist, and suddenly hashtag kill all men comes out, like, what do you think about yourself?
It's not even just kill all men. I mean, for one of my videos on I have a second video of real women, my real women series, that was talking about circumcision. If you just type in hashtag circumcision on Twitter, you could find women who praise the shit out of that shit.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you can find women who praise killing men. You can find women who praise mutilating dicks. You can find women who love sucking dick and then proclaim I should be able to show off my tits in public, but I'm going to go suck off mutilated cocks and porn. The morality, I mean, I have a video coming up. I recorded it, but I want to listen to it again and make sure it's correct in all aspects, called Cunt Morals.
Okay.
And it's sort of gonna expose, this dichotomy of retardation that women have with regards to morality.
I like the title.
I should be able to show off my tits in public, but I should also be able to suck off a mutilated man in porn and get paid for it, and be able to have a boyfriend while licking another girl's ass.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, that's okay. That's interesting, man. That it's good. I like a lot of the talking to you here because you do like to kind of dive into certain areas of topics that some people are a little scared to go.
I abandoned lines long ago, so I don't have lines. I just have thoughts and logic, and what I see is what I see, and that's it. The thing is, when people say like I dehumanize women. My Real Women series, which I'm going to slowly be uploading eventually because I have all of it, My Real Women series is from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, it comes right from them. Yeah.
So if the horse's mouth says, I'm going to go suck off mutilated men and then complain that I can't show off my tits in public, as far as I'm concerned, they're dehumanizing themselves. I'm just the messenger.
Right.
I'm just saying, here's what women are saying. Are they still human? I don't think so. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's move forward a little bit here. And I want to touch on a subject that you yourself said in one of your videos. So I hope you don't mind talking about it. And it had to do with your sex life and being a virgin.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think maybe I don't know how is that. This is actually, I think, a very interesting topic that has not been touched on very much.
I agree, and it should be something that should be talked about.
Yeah.
So what's your question then? Go ahead.
Well, I guess to start off, why don't you explain to me and the listeners a little bit about why you've taken that path, how it's affected your life, maybe how it affects your relationship with women in life. And
well, like I said, I have zero relationship with women in my life.
Well, but you must go to school with them, right?
I don't talk to them, though.
Okay.
Like, I literally ignore their existence. Unless they come and say some shit to me, and if they say some shit to me, I make sure to make it as short as fucking possible. Okay. Right? So if I have a female professor that I have to talk to, or even a female student I have to talk to, I'll talk to them. But I'll make sure it's as short as possible. That's the extent of any interaction. And like I said, ideally I would have zero interaction. Okay.
And as far as not partaking in sex at all, I mean, how did you kind of come to that? I mean, was it just like a choice from the beginning, or did you just kind of eventually say?
So
yeah.
Yeah. So when of course, as a 13-year-old, sex, sure, why not? And even when I was 15, 15 or so was when I learned about how I was mutilated as a baby.
Right.
So, it varies, of course, but generally speaking, if you're circumcised, you really can't feel much of anything. Such is the case with me. I mean, I feel maybe a little bit, but it's certainly not worth shit, and it makes me just depressed.
Right. You didn't have any complications with your circumcision, did you? Like, I mean, like serious complications.
In terms of physicality, no. There's no skin tears. I don't have any. My dick didn't need to be surgically attached again.
Right.
Even though that shit happens a fuck ton lot.
Yeah, it does. But just so average circumcision, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know, they didn't fuck me up too much. They fucked me up just right.
Just right. Yeah, they fucked you up just right.
Just right. I got fucked up just right.
Yeah.
Not too much, not too little. They took off great amounts of it, but just not enough to fuck me up entirely. Where my dick rotted off, right?
Right.
Because that happens. The dick rots off.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. But anywho.
Yeah.
So the first thing with regards to sex is I'm mutilated, and if I'm jerking off and I orgasm, sure, I can feel the orgasm itself. That's just the chemicals in my brain. In terms of the physical sensation on my dick, there really isn't anything. I mean, it's kind of fucked up. I'm like, mostly what I get off is it's just mentally knowing that my dick is being touched, but it's not like I'm feeling anything.
Mm.
So there's no actual sensation of pleasure. It's just like mentally my brain is like, oh, my dick's getting touched. That's great, but that's it. Right? So sex to me, first of all, it's just not going to be worth it, even that, because it's just going to depress me more.
Okay.
Because if I orgasm and I feel the orgasm, but I don't feel any pleasure from my dick, I mean, that just upsets me, just on an instinctual level. Because my brain is expecting a certain amount of pleasure, but it's not getting it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and I'm talking about this, just kind of off, like I'm talking about the fucking weather, but that's
it's
just
okay.
how I talk about these.
It's okay, man. No problem here.
No, it's just how I'm open about it. I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that experience is. But with regards to sex as a concept, it's just pointless to me. Because the only reason I see of getting sex is to have the orgasm, which, sure, I can feel the chemicals in my brain from the orgasm itself, but physically I don't really feel it much, if anything, at all. And even then, sex itself as a concept is pointless to me because, okay, so I fuck around for maybe 5 to 20 minutes, and I get an orgasm for about 3 seconds.
Right.
What's the point in that? I just don't see a point in it. I mean, I'm even part of the wizard community. Are you familiar with them?
No. What is that?
Wizards are basically. I talked about this. I have the video. I really need to upload it again, where I talked about the different groups of men. Right. So I talked about men who were conservatives. I talked about men who were liberal. I talked about the pickup artist community, and the antithesis of them would be the wizards. I'm classified as an apprentice because I'm 22. You don't hit wizardhood until you reach the age of 30 and are still a virgin.
Okay.
And wizards typically seen as neats, no education, no training. They're seen as, but the point is, they're seen as like, parasites to the system generally. But I actually respect that lifestyle because they don't want to work a shitty job. And they have interests. A lot of them have interests, but they don't have the experience or the arbitrary qualifications to get jobs in those interests, and so they don't want to work because they don't want a shitty job. So they don't generally attribute into wage slavery. Now, me, of course, I have a different stance on that, and of course, even to some of them, because I have friends, that would be a bad thing, because they're also typically known for being like hikikomori. Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
Hikikomori is basically the Japanese version of wizards.
Okay.
Hikimori are men in Japan who never leave their room. Just never leave. They don't work. They just sit in the room and do stuff. Okay. So wizards are generally like that. But I consider myself a wizard because I share a lot of their views with regards to sex. They find sex to be absolutely pointless. Some of them find it disgusting. And a lot of them agree with the whole artificial womb thing and the whole sex robot stuff. They agree with all that stuff because they don't want to deal with regards to succubi, which is how wizards address women. They address them as succubi, the succubus.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with those terms.
So, but me, with regards to understanding how I view sex, it's basically just that it's completely a pointless act to me, and it's also dangerous because false rape allegations and all that shit.
Yeah.
And with regards to the age difference, I mean, I planned on having sex when I was like 13, of course, because, I'm a horny 13-year-old. 15, I learned I was, like, mutilated, but I was like, whatever, I'll still fucking enjoy sex, whatever. And then by the time I was hitting 18, that's when I tried, like, that was, like, the last 2 times I tried, actually, no. I had another bad experience with a woman then, and then and at 21, I think, I tried one more time with, like, the most traditional-looking woman you could possibly fucking find. Like, this bitch had, like, A-cup tits, didn't fucking dress slutty at all, fucking Catholic bitch, right? Mm-hmm. And she still acted like every other bitch. At the end of the day. At the end of the day. Because I had a video on it, which I don't plan to re-upload because I find it to be a wasted video, but it was about, the NAWALT concept, and the point is, I met this girl, and she seemed like a NAWALT. In the first conversation, she was a lady. She let me lead the conversation. The second conversation, same thing. She let me lead the conversation. Everything went fine. Third conversation, completely 180 flip. She tries leading the conversation. Of course, because she's a fucking cunt, she leads it to the fucking abyss. It goes fucking nowhere. And we end up apparently arguing, so she said. And I'm just, most of this conversation, by the way, I'm just quiet. Because I have nothing to say. Because she's leading the conversation nowhere.
You're right.
There's nothing to talk about. And by the end of it, she's like, I think we're just arguing. And I'm like, so we'll argue. I don't care. Because, like, at that point, I was like, you're done. Like, you're fucking finished. Because she completely was just acting like every other fucking cunt. And that's basically when I dropped the whole NAWALT concept. Because when I first started MGTOW, I was one of those MGTOW who thought women were equal. Because there are MGTOW like that.
Right.
And then I switched to, okay, women aren't equal, but I still want to fuck with them. So that's probably what most MGTOW are, right? Mm-hmm. And then now I moved on to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with them at all. Not a single bit. No talking, nothing, no sex, nothing. And it just kind of revolves around those experiences. It revolves around the concept of sex being something so pointless. And sex itself, as far as I'm concerned, when men say, oh, I just do it to fuck around with them, you can't fuck with something that is fucked with.
Right.
That fucks with you. Like, you can't fuck around with a toy. The toy fucks with you. Basically, what men are doing when they're having sex is they're taking the toy, like an action figure, and they're role-playing with that shit, they're playing with their imagination, and they think to themselves, I control this toy. But reality is, the toy is actually making you roleplay, because if the toy didn't exist, you wouldn't fucking be having sex, right? So if the woman didn't exist, you wouldn't be having sex or anything, and you wouldn't be fucking doing all this pointless shit.
Right.
To get to that point. And so my view of it is that you're basically just trying to fuck with a toy, but the toy is the reason you're being fucked with.
That's interesting. The concept of role-playing with the toy is interesting. I wonder...
That's what they're doing. They're role-playing with the toy and saying, oh, I'm the leader of the toy, or, oh, I get to decide when we have sex. But, no, she controls that shit. I mean, I had a guy once tell me, we shared a kiss. And it's like, I had to tell him at the time, no, you don't share a kiss. It was her kiss. It wasn't your kiss. It was her kiss. It wasn't yours. Nothing you do with women is ever yours. So when you have sex with them, it's not you having sex with them, it's she having sex with you. That's just how it is. And what I mean by that is, from your mind, it could be you're both having sex. Right? I'm not talking like responsibility or anything, I'm just talking conceptually. Right. Conceptually speaking, she's having sex and you're not. That's the concept that she's experiencing. And that's the only one that matters because at the end of the day, unless you're going to rape a bitch, that's how she's going to fuck you.
Yeah, that's true. I get the ultimate sort of depraved role play is rape, and in the end you're going to...
And most women like it because that's actually how it happened for most of human history.
Yeah. No,
I mean, ducks participate in gang rape. If you see ducks mating, they participate in gang rape. That's how they do it.
Well, and again, I mean, the environment today, the way that I suppose the feminist camp now defines rape. I mean, just having sex, any kind of sex.
That's the point. Like, isn't it funny how we rape women less and less, and they keep broadening the definition of rape to include practically fucking everything.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Isn't that funny? Because it just kind of goes to show you probably should rape them. It's clearly what they want. It's clearly what they want.
I love it, man. It's comments like that, that
But it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Unless, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it just makes sense to me.
Well, no, I mean, I see where you're coming from. I'm just saying. I mean, I love those comments. You know, maybe we should rape them. It's beautiful because.
Well, I don't think. Again, to clarify, I don't think we should because, again, I don't want to have sex at all, including the act of rape. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And not because it's rape, but because I don't want to have sex. But my point is, if they're going to complain about being raped when they're not being raped, rape them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, legitimately do it. Like, because honestly, throughout most of human history, that's probably how it worked. I didn't live back then, but before civilization really existed, how the fuck do you think cavemen did it? Do you think cavemen went out of their way and gave him gifts? And sure, maybe they gave him some meat, but do you think the caveman, the Neanderthal, really went ahead and, you know, dated her for like 4 months? No, he fucking saw her, gave her some meat, and said, I'm gonna feed you and I'm gonna put my dick in you and you're gonna make babies. And she was probably like, yeah, sure, why not? And that's probably how it fucking worked. And if that didn't work, right? If he was the strongest male and she was retarded and said, yeah, you know, I'm going to take your meat, but I'm not going to fuck you, guess what he fucking did? Beat her over the head, raped her.
Yeah, right.
Think he gave a shit? No, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Probably concepts of foreplay were pretty alien to the caveman.
Probably, because well, no, I'm sure they had foreplay. I'm sure their sex life was no different than ours in reality.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Although I'm sure most of them didn't have sex as much because the alpha male stuff was sort of more prevalent back then, I would imagine. But even then, nowadays, I think it was like 80% of men don't actually get kids.
Yeah, they don't reproduce. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, they don't reproduce. So men can have sex, I'm sure. I'm sure more than 80% of men have sex, but they don't reproduce. And I think that's no different than back in caveman days.
Just the numbers.
I'm sure back in caveman days, 80% of cavemen did not reproduce either. Mm-hmm. Did they have sex? Probably. But consider the fact that the most women you saw as a caveman was probably 10.
Right.
Like, you probably only saw 10 women in your entire life. That was it. And when you see 10 women in your entire life, and you're the head caveman, do you give a shit if the bitch likes you or not? No.
No.
Hit her upside the head, rape the bitch. Who cares? What's the bitch gonna do? Complain? Hit her again. like that's. I'm just saying. Like, what we're seeing is more and more complaining from women, right? Mm-hmm. You give them rights, they complain more. You don't rape them, they complain about rape. Like, don't give them rights and rape them. I mean, that would appear to be the solving of the problem.
Right. Yeah. I can see where you're going with that, and I want to kind of go back again to the rights thing, but before I do, I just wanted to point out. I'm very interested. I love this conversation, and I can't wait to get it online because you know when it comes to people like what happened with you and Tilder, you know it basically comes down to someone taking or I guess the word is cherry picking, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why I actually like this conversation as well, because it kind of shows like a more real-time side of me rather than the video side, because when you're watching someone record a video, when you're watching the video, you're watching a recording.
Yeah.
Right? You're not having a conversation. It's not real-time. It's generally scripted.
Yeah.
So it's two different sides of a coin, and when you only show that recorded side and only one video of the 4-video series of that recorded side, it's like taking a page out of the Bible and saying this is what Catholicism is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and
that's not right. And
it's not even just one video. It's like one comment from one video.
Exactly.
You know, and that happens so much. It happens so much, and that's really why I want to try to do more of this, and because the fact of the matter is when I see stuff like that happen in the community, and I see people kind of getting on either outside of the MGTOW community or within, and people like I said, cherry picking people's comments apart and lambasting them for it. I often say to myself, well, why don't you just like give them a call?
Exactly. Like I have people always come to me and be like, "Can you define this for me? Can you tell me about this?" And I'm like, "You fucking nigger! I have the fucking channel for a reason. Watch the video."
Well, but you got to remember though, it's from just watching the videos that people kind of come to these ridiculous conclusions, and which is why.
Sure, but when they're asking me about information, like I mean, you yourself have asked me questions that I've certainly covered before and before again. You know, like I said, for the 5th billionth time, I'll fucking clarify what I fucking said.
Yeah, but now we're doing it in real time.
Exactly, but even then, I get what you're saying with the whole video, and that's where they get this idea from. But the point is, if they're not going to put the effort into learning, I'm not going to fucking bother teaching.
Yeah. Well, and
so if you're going to come to me and ask me to spoon feed you, I'm going to tell you to go fuck off.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think what I was trying to say, my point of view is that the responsibility does fall on the listener, and
exactly.
To me, if the listener finds something that they can't understand, or let's say they find it offensive.
I pointed this out with Thinking Ape.
Mm-hmm.
Because did you see my most recent video with Thinking Ape?
Actually, yeah, because after the interview, yeah, go ahead, talk a bit about that.
Yeah, because I didn't even watch the fucking video because I knew what the fuck it was going to be. I already knew what it was going to fucking be. It's going to be the same fucking thing that Tilder did, right? Mm-hmm. And in fact, I just took that comment. I've read other Thinking Apes comments on that video, but I just looked at the comment, and the comment was like, Sexy MGTOW said that de facto women are not human. And first of all, and I pointed out to Thinking Ape, for someone who's a master at language, you should probably quote the person. Because I never used the term de facto. Never used that term. Never used it. Never once on my channel. So if you're going to, and the point that I make there, if you're not going to write my words, don't fucking say what I said.
Right, but you didn't...
Because the difference between, like, it's the people who say, like I said, it's like I say non-human and people say subhuman. Those are two different things.
Right.
Two different things.
Well, so you didn't listen to the interview?
I didn't, to him and Tilder talk? No,
yeah,
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't listen to it at all.
I listened to it. It came... The subject of you came up right from the get-go, but it didn't last out. Yeah, it was. It was right from the get-go.
That's hilarious.
I knew it was going to come up, but when I did listen to it, I was a little surprised. It was like the very first talking point, or maybe not. I guess it's controversial.
I'm not surprised, but I'm just like, I knew it was going to meet it because every time I see Tilder and MGTOW, I know damn well I'm going to be talked about.
Infamous.
Every fucking time.
You're infamous, brother.
That's why I didn't even fucking watch it because I knew it was going to fucking be.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, yeah. But it wasn't. It was. They didn't dedicate that much time to it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So.
But I'm sure basically what the conversation was. So Sexy MGTOW says women aren't human beings, and he's totally wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the concept that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the physical vessel that is the female. I'm talking inside of that thing.
Yeah.
Well, inside of it, there's nothing there.
Well, you've had a chance to explain it in real time, which is nice, and maybe
also explained it before. But I don't. The point I made was I don't even think Thinking Ape even knew of my channel before Tilder.
Possibly.
I don't think he even watched the video that Tilder was responding to. I don't think he did that shit.
Yeah,
because again, I had 4 other videos at the time with regards to women as non-human beings. Tilder only addressed one of them, the worst one, again. So if Thinking Ape is going to actually talk about me, or if anyone's going to talk about me, I would like it if you read my book, not a sentence from my book.
Yeah, of course. Well, okay, we got about 10 minutes left. So, and before, because I kind of want to end it around the an hour and a half mark. So, let's just quickly go back and revisit, because we were kind of getting into that, the concept of women's giving rights to women. And I just want to just lead up to it by saying, when we were talking about how rape has suddenly become redefined, and you kind of said, look, we gave women rights, and then all this shit started to happen. I mean, do you think that we can go back to the late 19th century when it was the suffrage and giving the women's rights to vote? In your opinion, do you think that's kind of where it went all downhill?
If you even look at the suffragettes, the suffragettes are claimed as these beautiful ladies who just wanted to be, a part of the society and make it better. If you look at the documents they have, a lot of it's just as bad as any feminist shit anyway, because there are documents claiming that men shouldn't have the right to vote because their place is in the military.
Mm.
You can find posters that were put up at the time from the suffragettes that were talking about how men should not have the right to vote because their place is in the military. They should just die for us.
Yeah.
And not get the right to vote. And, I mean, even until recently, even now actually, not even recently, even now, cunts can still fucking vote without having to put their life on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to get drafted.
Yeah, that's still yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, you know, people have this view of the suffragettes that they were some beautiful women who just absolutely love society and want to make it better. No, they were just the same fucking shit.
Yeah, and
they were as anti-male as the feminists.
Yeah, and the reason why I kind of wanted to trail off on that concept is because near the beginning you were mentioning a bit about wanting to do some stuff on history, right? Of not just feminism as we understand it, but sort of how it's kind of played a part in other cultures. And
sure, I was actually trying to find more information on Cleopatra, but this information is very hard to find, and I don't think it's because men got rid of it. It probably is because women got rid of it.
Yeah, maybe, man. Maybe.
Because women tend to alter history in terms to make it seem like they were oppressed. When, again, we can cite many examples from Rome that they were not oppressed.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely...
They had rights.
Feminism is definitely trying their damnedest to alter history today, that's for sure.
Yeah, but, like, Cleopatra actually Cleopatra had an affair with Augustus Caesar and shit. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a whole bunch of shit on her, but I can't find exactly what I'm looking for, because I want to know how good of a leader she was, and all I can really find was, so she had an affair with, like, Augustus Caesar, and they had, like, a baby, and Caesar was like, fuck this baby, I don't want it. and Cleopatra was actually hoping he would accept the baby, and then, like, they would, like, unite their empires. But, of course, that kind of fucked up, because Caesar was like, I can't have no fucking baby that's not white.
Yeah, and that's and I think and the reason I brought it up here to trail off is because I do think that it is a topic. It's a topic that needs to be explored more in MGTOW communities, and especially even like what we just mentioned with the suffragettes. It needs to be brought up a little bit more about the history of it, the attitudes of women at that time. And it needs to be brought forward so MGTOW can kind of educate themselves a little bit more on that as well. Because I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons why within the MGTOW communities you still see a lot of kind of pandering to women is because they still have this sort of sense like, okay, yeah, feminism is bad, but in the beginning there were good intentions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I always hear that. And like I said, the suffragettes, at least a portion of them, if not all of them, most likely all of them, basically just wanted men to be workhorses, and they would just vote. That was it. That's all they wanted. They just wanted to vote with men not getting the right to vote, and that's what they wanted. And it's kind of like the same thing, I mean, with regards to, like, circumcision, right? So we don't allow women in America to get circumcised.
No, nowhere.
But we allow men, right? So the suffragettes wanted to allow themselves to get the right to vote, but discontinue that right for men.
Yeah. And
so it just, again, that's like cunt morality.
Was that going to be the title of one of your videos?
That was going to be the title of the video.
Yeah,
cunt morals or something like that. Well, typically, I typically refer to women as cunts, because that's what they are. And the thing is, people take the word cunt as like meaning as an insult, right? And sure, you could take that, but when I say cunt, I'm actually using the definition of the word, which means hollow place.
Means what?
And cunt comes from the words queen, like back in the day of language, not modern English, but back, where English comes from, Latin and shit. Mm-hmm. It comes from queen and queer, maybe queer, I think? I'm not sure about that, but I know it definitely comes from queen. And the point is, these words, the etymology of these words, the history of these words, was basically cunt in terms of history of what the word actually means. It means hollow place.
Hollow place, okay.
And the point that I make is I call women cunts because that's what they are. They're a hollow place. They're a bunch of holes. That's it. They're just a series of holes that make babies. So, a lot of people say, like, I don't like when you call them cunts. It's like, that's what they are. I'm not doing it to insult. I'm doing it to be factual.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Again, those are the talking points that kind of set people off,
Exactly, but they have this, people like to, I think the problem really is that people like to think of time as segmented. Whereas time is really this giant orb of fucking string, right? And different pieces of string form yarn balls, and then the yarn balls come unraveled, but time is kind of like that, because when you read the history books, you read about, World War II and Hitler and everything like that, but at the same time, Russia and Stalin were doing some fucked up shit too. But nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
Stalin was starving people and killing Jews too, but nobody cares. It's all Hitler, bro. Like, okay, Hitler killed him, but Stalin did it first.
Right.
Hitler's just well known primarily because of the fact that the Jews actually propagandized that.
Oh,
It's the same thing with the German language in America.
right.
Like I said, I can't tell people I'm learning German without them accusing me of being a fucking Nazi. It's
Right.
ridiculous.
Actually,
My parents even do the same thing. My parents were like, "Oh, but the Germans did bad things," and I'm like, "Okay, that has nothing to do with the German language."
right. Oh,
Because
of
other
course.
people besides Germans speak German.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually that's cool. That's cool. Let's roll with that a bit, because I remember you were bringing up the Jews before, and this is also
Yeah, I had a video on the Jews. In fact, Neo Unplugged was one of the ones who was like, "I would appreciate it if you didn't put MGTOW in this," and I'm like, MGTOW and Jews have a lot actually, in terms of not in common, but like in terms of talking points. Yeah, they're actually pretty involved.
how so? Explain that a little.
Well, Jews are responsible for the Frankfurt School, which was at the time of before World War II. It existed, and that was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And the Frankfurt School was and still is, because it still exists, because it's basically Marxism. That's where Marxism basically came to be, or rather was formulated.
Okay.
And it's all Jews. All Jews. And see, my family's Jewish, and I understand Jews very well. And I understand what Hitler was doing, because Hitler never wanted a war. He never wanted a war. First of all, his military was shit.
Mm-hmm.
His military was shit. So even if he wanted a war, he could not fight a war. Even if he wanted one, which he didn't want one, because the first thing Hitler tried to do was move the Jews out of Germany. Primarily because the Jews owned the banks, and they owned the law firms.
Okay.
They owned all of that. And they owned the media. And Hitler was like, we don't want this shit. Because they were bringing the whole society down with that shit. And so Hitler never, people want to say Hitler hated the Jews, and maybe after a point he did, but early on he just wanted them gone. He didn't want to kill them. He didn't want a war. He just wanted them out of the country. He just wanted them gone. And if you look at Europe nowadays, I mean, you see Jews, you see Muslims. I mean, England is not really a white country anymore either.
Right.
It's mostly Muslims.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that's what Hitler actually was warning people about at the time. He was warning that Jews were going to get rid of, these white countries. And I'm not going to talk about the white race or anything like that, but I'm just saying Jews don't want white countries. Because, again, diversity doesn't exist in Africa, but nobody clamors for it. Nobody says more white people should be in Africa. Nobody says that.
Well, Mexico either.
Same thing with Mexico.
Well,
nobody says more white people belong in Mexico. No white people belong in Brazil.
Well, it's the same let's say where I am in Indonesia.
Nobody says white people belong in Indonesia.
Yeah, we need more white people.
But the logic's that Indonesian people should be more than welcome in America and be hailed as the second coming of the Messiah. Same thing with blacks and all that other shit. And my point is that is a very Jewish idea, because the point that I made in the Jewish problem, that was what the video was, the Jewish problem isn't about the people. It's about the idea. And that's actually what Hitler was getting at, and also what I'm getting at. And I know I said I wasn't like Hitler, and that's true, because ideally, you wouldn't kill Jews. But the reality is, it's to the point where, like, in the Middle East, I say nuke the whole fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Talking isn't going to fix the problem. Because, especially when it comes to Semites, it's not just Jews. Because I even pointed this out in my video called The Jewish Problem. I even pointed this out. It's not just Jews. It's Semites in general. It's Muslims. It's Jews. It's Palestinians. It's all this shit. All these people share the same exact ideal. They all share the same mechanics. You hear about, Islamic people saying Islam is the religion of peace.
Yeah.
When that's clearly not true, right?
Well, yeah.
Jews say, oh, we're happy to be everywhere. But even Hitler pointed out that this is a problem because, as I pointed out in my masculinity video with regards to identity, if a man doesn't have land to call his own, he's fucked up. Because then you don't have a home. And if you don't have a home, I mean, what the fuck do you have?
Yeah, I mean, and again, these are fantastically controversial issues, and I'm wondering, okay, how does how does it relate to MGTOW when you were saying?
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of
you kind of went off on a tangent there.
It's like 5 billion topics. But basically, with regards to MGTOW, the Frankfurt School is basically the birth of feminism. Mm-hmm. Because the Frankfurt School was talking about how the class system needs to be destroyed and hierarchies need to be destroyed. Everyone needs to be equal, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole egalitarian thing is a Marxist idea.
Yeah.
And that would be from the Frankfurt School, which is comprised of Jews. Solely Jews. It's not like some Jews, some Muslims, and some Catholics. No, it's completely fucking Jews. In fact, you could see the same thing in feminism. Andrea Dworkin, Jew.
Yeah.
Fucking what's that fucking bitch's name that has the fucking shirt with the abortion shit? I don't know, but
oh shit! I can't. What the fuck?
I mean, I have an image. Hold on, let me see if I can grab this real quick.
Yeah.
I have an image full of the. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I have this image, and I've shown this in videos before, probably not in the current videos that I have up on the channel, but mm-hmm. I know it's probably in my video called The Jewish Problem. It's an image with about at least 25 women who were all part of feminism, and they're all Jewish.
I've heard that before too. Yeah,
they're all Jewish.
Yeah, I've heard that before. A lot of the kind of early second wave feminists were actually Jewish women. I have heard that.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that it's Marxism is a Jewish idea, and the point is that Marxism and Judaism as a religion are the same fucking thing. See, Judaism as a religion is a hollow religion. It's about worshiping nothing. And you may be thinking, well, they worship God. Yes, but in the Jewish idea, God is, and I'm quoting here, God is everything, God is nothing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with sort of a bit of the history of Judaism. Not too familiar with a lot of their beliefs, though.
Their belief is very much nihilistic. A lot of what they do, a great movie to watch. And this movie, it's funny because this movie was about Jews, and it was banned by Jews. It's hilarious. The movie is called The Believer.
Okay.
Definitely recommend you watch. You can find it on YouTube. It's completely free. It's about an hour and a half.
The Believer.
Watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, the main plot line is about this guy who's a Nazi and a Jew.
Oh, okay.
And the whole movie is a critique on Judaism.
Is it produced by Jews or?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay. Well, that's probably
Ryan Gosling is actually the lead guy.
Oh. How old is this movie?
I think it's from the 1990s. I'm not sure.
Oh, jeez, wow.
I'm not entirely sure, but it's a great movie because I mean the entire movie's great, but the ending really fucking nails what Judaism is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it, but even if you just watch, like literally, if you go to YouTube and you find the movie, it's there. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to rent it or anything. It's completely free.
The Believer.
Just like, if anything, just watch like the last 5 fucking minutes.
Okay.
Because that basically summarizes what Judaism is.
And the Believer, right? The title?
The Believer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Now, do you share the same opinion about basically? I guess we'll stick to the Abrahamic faith. I mean, do you share the same opinion about all those religions then?
Like I said, if it's Semitic, it's basically Jewish. Islam is not different.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're all very kind of nepotistic. Those faiths.
All of them, yeah, exactly. They all think that they're the chosen people. They all think that God is everything, God is nothing. These are nihilistic arguments, and these are not healthy worldviews. And you can see this, like I said. Look at the fucking Middle East.
But
it's surrounded by that.
But wouldn't you agree, though, that Marxism is against religion?
Marxism is against religion, but here's the point. In Judaism, and even in Islam, I'm not sure of the word for it in, let me see, do I have the, yeah, so in Islam, there's a word called taqiyya, and that's the Islamic doctrine of deception, meaning meaning that lying in Islam is permitted under certain circumstances, gaining the trust in non-believers in order to draw them out and defeat them.
Okay, I think I know. I think I know that term you're talking about. But
Yeah, no, I have it here. So in Judaism, it's called the Baba Kama.
Okay.
And this is the exact same fucking thing. Judaic doctrine of deception. Lying in Judaism that is permitted under certain circumstances. Jews may use subterfuges to circumvent a goy. And this is from the Baba Kama itself, which is a book.
Okay. Okay.
I think, because it says Baba Kama 113a, so I'm assuming that's a page. I know it's either in the Torah or the Talmud.
It's probably the Talmud. Yeah, it's the Talmud.
Yeah, it's probably the Talmud.
It wouldn't be the Torah.
But yeah, like I said, Islam, Judaism, same fucking thing. Different word. Mm-hmm. But I mean, taqiya is actually a word in Judaism. I know that for a fact. So they even share like the same fucking symbol.
What was the Islamic word you used again?
Taqiya.
That's not. I know what you're saying. That's not how it's pronounced, though. I'm trying to think.
Well, usually it is pronounced that way in Judaism.
I mean, in Islam. I'm trying to.
Yeah, in Islam, I know it's not yet.
Well, I mean,
my parents are Jewish, so.
Yeah, Hebrew and Arabic are sister languages. I mean, they're.
Exactly. Yeah, they read differently, but they're very much the same. I mean, Islam still looks like a flame language when writing it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Judaism. It's what's known as the flame language. In fact, again, the Believer even talks about this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Great, like I said, great fucking movie. It fucking definitely shows on. It's a very in-depth movie, but at the same time, it doesn't scratch the surface, even then.
Right.
Because you have to look at the history. I mean, even before Hitler in Germany, there was the Romans. Mm-hmm. The Romans didn't like Jews either, for good reason.
Yeah, it seems like you've done a lot of research on Jewish history. I'm not, unfortunately.
I've done a lot of research in many things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've touched on it a bit. I mean, I'm actually quite fascinated with religion and the history of religion myself. It's kind of something that I've studied a lot of. So what you're talking about is interesting to me. But again, like I said, they're very touchy points for a lot of people.
I agree. Like I said, Neo Unplugged did not like me putting MGTOW in the Jewish problem video. But like I said, Jews created Frankfurt School. The Frankfurt School created Marxism, and feminism is Marxism and drag. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And so it's a Jewish thing.
Okay, so go ahead.
The point of addressing the Jewish problem is, again, I pointed this out. This is the first thing I fucking said in that video. It's not about the people. Quit thinking of Jews as human and think of Jews as an idea.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if the human has the idea of a Jew, the human is now, as far as I'm concerned, completely fucking wasted. It's gone.
So, well, okay, because there is a separation between Judaism as a religion and Jewish people. There is a separation there.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
In fact, actually, the Believer actually points out that the people in Israel aren't Jews.
Right. Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of atheist Jews. Jewish.
But the point is though, like you even pointed out, Marxism is actually against religion.
Yeah.
And this is true. But again, that's just subterfuge.
Interesting.
It's just lying. It's the Baba Kama.
Right. Okay. That's the point. So anyway,
because if you get rid of the religion that people have, right? If you get rid of Nazi Germany was mostly Catholic. If you get rid of the Catholicism, you get rid of the people. Right? Because the religion makes the people. In a general sense, that's what it does.
Right.
Right.
Wow, yeah.
So the religion of Judaism makes you shit. The religion of Catholicism, throughout human history, has been very good for a lot of nations.
Interesting. So you kind of take a favor to the Catholic religion, I guess?
The two religions that I like the most are the Buddhist religion and the Catholic religion. Not Christian, Catholic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Huge difference between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Catholics are a lot more grounded. Christians tend to basically favor the whole spirit thing and the whole ghosts and shit. Okay. And Catholicism is no, there's just God and Jesus, bro.
But you're not a Catholic, are you?
No, I am an atheist.
Okay.
A lot of people don't get this. A lot of people come to me when I talk about abortion and how I'm against it. Mm-hmm. They're like, "You sound like a Christian fundamentalist," and it's a damn shame that I'm an atheist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow.
Because it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's. I want to wrap up that idea one more time about how you compared, you know, Jewishness or Judaism with and how the talking points are prevalent to MGTOW. So it went from Frankfurt School.
The Frankfurt School created Marxism.
Mm-hmm.
It was creating this idea that all people were equal and that class systems were bad, and that everyone should give to basically to each man his need for, like, it was something like, it was basically, I can't quote exactly, but basically take from one man what he produces, give it to another man that he wants, and everyone just does that and we're all fine apparently.
Okay. And then
But the point is that it enforced that.
and that's related to feminism, right?
That is related to feminism, because feminism is all about giving me stuff that I want that you have, right?
Okay.
So feminism is about, you know, men have this, men have, you know, the wage gap myth, right?
Right.
That bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, men have $1 to my 76 cents, so I want his dollar.
Right. Okay.
That's a Marxist idea. Men have the right to vote. I want that right to vote.
Okay, so I just want to make this clear. I don't want to go too off topic into religion, so I want to make this clear. From Frankfurt to Marxism to feminism, which is related.
It's all the same.
Yeah, which is related obviously to MGTOW, and to a certain degree, kind of.
And it all starts with Jews.
Right, and so that's their connection. Okay, I wanted to just make that clear first. So,
like I said, there's of course more to it, but I mean, I hate when people ask me questions like, "Can you explain this?" Like, bitch, it's like a year's worth of research and shit.
Yeah. Well, you know, we can always do more chats in the future, so we don't need to get it all done.
I would have no problem with that at all. And like I said, a great movie to start with would be The Believer.
Sure.
It goes in depth in some places, and in other places it's kind of lacking. But like I said, if anything, just watch the last fucking 5 minutes. You don't even need to watch the rest of the movie. Just watch 5 minutes. Just watch the last.
But the thing is, though, when I do these talks, I want to make sure that it's centered around MGTOW related stuff, right?
Absolutely, and again, the Frankfurt School is directly responsible for feminism.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, directly responsible for MGTOW.
Well, I would say maybe.
Well, MGTOW has always existed, yes.
I don't know if I would say feminism is the direct reason for MGTOW.
Well, women are. If you want to be more direct, it's women.
Yeah, I mean, women's behavior. I mean, to me, MGTOW is kind of dissecting female behavior in modern times, throughout history.
Exactly.
Men's relationship to them, men's position in society in relation to women, and yeah, feminism is a big part of that, but I don't think it's the main catalyst. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, it's actually funny when you think about it that they would compare me to Hitler when they say replace women with Jews, because when you look at it, women essentially follow the Jewish idea. Men have something, I want it.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So that you have something I want, and I'm going to take it. Which, again, goes back to Judaism and Marxism and all that other shit. So
yeah. All right. Well, I see the connection. Okay. It's interesting.
It's just interesting to me how people could be so blind to that they'll make that connection themselves. I won't even make it, but they'll be like, just replace women with Jews, and boom, you're Hitler. And it's like, well, you're not that far off.
Well, yeah, they're skipping a few steps, and it's a lot of information for people, you know. I mean, again,
like I said, like I can't, like when people ask me those questions, I'm like, I can't really answer that in a sentence. I can lead you to an intro to it, and you can go search for it yourself, because I don't want to handhold you for this shit, because I don't fucking want to do that.
Yeah, well, that's hard to do anyway.
That's like the thing I want to take away. If you're a person listening to this and you're like, oh, he's racist, he's anti-Semitic. Seriously, just watch the movie. Start you off with that. Go look into the history of World War II. Watch how the Jews propagandized that shit to a ridiculous extent. Hitler didn't want a war, all that kind of shit. Look into all that stuff. That's not a thing I can summarize in a sentence, or even a 1 hour, 48-minute conversation.
Yeah. Well, let's bring this to a close. I think we've covered quite a few topics. It was great because we got into everything I wanted to get into, plus more. I didn't even think to talk to you about some of the topics you brought up, and which was good. I think it's again controversial, but that's okay. That's good. I like that. And sure. If there's anything else you want to say before we bring this to a close?
No, because if you give me that opportunity, I'm a little schizophrenic, so we're just going to be here rambling about the same shit.
All right. Well, we'll just ended it there. Anyway, for everybody listening, thanks for listening. That was a nice interview with one of the radical MGTOW, as some people
Also
like
the
to
sexiest.
say. Also the sexiest. Sexy MGTOW. Thank you very much, brother, for spending this time with me. I will put this up as soon as possible, and I'll make sure I get a copy to you. It's kind of late here, so maybe tomorrow sometime.
No rush.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you, Sexy MGTOW. Have a good night. See you later.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. Take care.
Shout, let it all